Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our BBT 3 movie. Now, for those of you who don't know, I haven't seen the announcement video, which I'll link in the description below. The BBL is coming next week. Next Saturday, actually, in particular, should be the date that the draft stream is live, the date that our draft analysis go live, all that good stuff. But obviously, going into a league, there's a lot of things that, need to go on to prepare for it. And one of the biggest things is obviously tiering. And especially for a league as volatile and as, not standard as UBERS, we really wanted to make sure we have the tiers as good as humanly possible so that our coaches had a good experience and you had a good viewing experience at home. So we decided to run a tournament out of the BBL server. I decided to participate myself. A ton of other people did as well, and a big shout out to everybody who decided to participate and help us out in making the tour. I believe they got a big shout out in the video. But yeah, if you guys do enjoy our tournament run and us using some Ubers before the actual league, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 5,000 subs by the end of the year, and I would really appreciate it if you help me out along that journey. That being said, we can kind of jump into it really quick. I do want to go over our team just so you have some kind of general idea. Now, the league won't be 8 Pokemon per team, but the tournament will be just for tournament logistics reasons. So this will be an 8-mon team. The Terra rules is that we'll get 1 Terra Captain, or 2 potential Terra Captains, I believe, up to 26 Terra points. Our Terra Captains can free Terra into any typing, but our typing was disclosed to our opponent before the game started, and obviously on Showdown, it's a little bit easier. I mean, said going into it, I think we had, was it 2nd or 3rd pick overall in our pool? So very, very good pick. And honestly, the Pokemon I wanted to try the most fell to me. Obviously, Calyrex Ice is the best Pokemon on the board, but Mewtwo looks like so much fun. It's weird because Mewtwo actually isn't all that solid in the standard Ubers tier, but in Draft League, when versatility and roll compression is king, Mewtwo is really good at its job. I mean, we're not going to go over every move and everything that it can do in its move set and things like that. Just know it is extremely versatile, and hopefully, I mean, look at the Will-O-Wisp. I can tell you right now, we brought Wisp a couple times. I'll tell you right now, we are going to use the heck out of this Mewtwo. I'm really excited to use this guy. It's who I wanted in the main league the most, was we don't end up getting Mewtwo in the main league, so this will be our opportunity to try it out here. Obviously, Unnerve, Pressure is but Unnerve is an awesome ability, especially in draft where we see a lot of lure berries as a means to deal with a lot of these offensive breakers and sweepers and cleaners and all that stuff. Unnerve makes sure you can't do that. You're not allowed to eat your Payapa Berry, your Yachi Berry, your Chople Berry if you're a dark type. I'm just going to blow through you with my coverage or whatever I need to do. So obviously an incredibly strong Pokemon. Really excited to use it here. Picture versatility, fast, strong. I mean, it's fucking Mewtwo. You know what I mean? It's pretty awesome. Next up though, I want to go something that would accent Mewtwo, and not that anything hard beats Mewtwo, but obviously it is going to struggle a little bit more with things it can't just click Psy Strike into in Steel types and Dark types. So I grabbed one of the best breakers for those Pokemon humanly possible in round 2 in Urshifu Single Strike. Now, this is not going to be our Terra Captain this time around. We are just going to come in, click Choice Scarf or Choice Band, Wicked Blow, and that's about it. Again, not the most versatile Pokemon in the world. It's definitely seen a little bit of a fall off. We talked about that in the podcast recently. It's fallen off a little bit. Wicked Blow obviously got nerfed just a tiny bit in between generations, but it's still such a strong breaker. Again, not very versatile at all, but I think in particular with Mewtwo, it's awesome. Plus, grabbing this for U-turns into Mewtwo or our other Pokemon on the team is going to be great at chipping them down and, facilitating our big breaker guys. Speaking of a Pokemon that really appreciates the U-turns that Urshifu grabs, in particular into those fairy types that it doesn't want to switch into, but it beats offensively, we have our Terra Captain and a Pokemon that doesn't show up apparently on the screen in Archaludon. Really excited to use this thing. I think in Ubers in general, and I'll talk about this in my draft analysis for actual BBL, but I think the Terra Captains that are most valuable in this format are ones that are incredibly bulky, so they can use their bulk to basically check whatever you need them to, and especially in Archaludon's case, with stamina plus incredible bulk, Terra, Assault Vest, Rocky Helmet sets, things like that, Resist Berries, that in conjunction with still being naturally very strong, 125, is going to be the best way to go, opposed to just like herder offensive, WinCon Terra, which is still a viable strategy. But I really think that having these like more defensive, bulky tank Terramons in this format in particular is a little bit more valuable, and Archaludon was one of the ones I wanted to try the most. I think it does a great job at that. On top of being incredibly strong, we can obviously do like fun electro shot things, we can do fun body press things. It's a very reliable stealth rocker too. Stealth rock 3 attacks is about as reliable as it gets, and again, very strong Pokemon. We have that strong base 125 special attack alongside some really strong coverage. And again, not the most plentiful coverage, but really Dragon Steel is really good offensively. We have Aura Sphere if we want to hit on the special side, or Body Press, obviously, on the physical side alongside Stamina to hit Steel types. And again, I mean, what really switches into that? Not that much. We have the electric coverage as well if we need. But really, we're just kind of here to click our stabs, maybe a fighting move, and get up rocks and be reliable. Speaking of reliability, we picked up Swampert next. Now, I'm also big on roll compression in Amon in particular. So I figured Pert was going to be great at that. Gives me my water, gives me my ground, gives me another rocker to kind of take a little bit of pressure off of our Chalet on that roll. Spoilers, I think this is actually our last rocker. So we have two really reliable ones. And Swampert is probably the most reliable you can get in that regard. Love using this guy in BBR. Again, good old reliable. You just come and you click flip turn. You're getting knockoff, I think, is one of the most slept on buffs of this generation. Absolutely love knockoff Pert, forcing in annoying Pokemon, getting knocks onto them, things like that. Again, another momentum-based Pokemon to hopefully get Mewtwo in as much as possible. Next up, more momentum and a big speed tier grab for us in Thundurus Incarnate. Love this guy. Think it's solid offensively, right? We still have, 125 special attack, just like our Chaladon, in conjunction with Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, Grass Knot hits most teams very hard, on top of moves like Sludge Wave and Dark Pulse, and a ton of different options, right? Really annoying. But also the utility aspect of Thundurus is my main thing. I love Prankster Thunder Wave in UBERS. Whether that be to threaten these UBERS and either force them out, force them into Lumberries, or threaten these Terra Catsons into Lumberries or Terra Electrics, I think that's a really valuable tool, and it really was awesome in this tournament. I absolutely love that aspect of it. It also gets Full Switch and U-Turn, so it can always pivot no matter what, really comfortably. And it's just going to be an overall great pivot, solid breaker, kills the bulky waters that we don't super appreciate up to this point. And yeah, just an overall very solid bond. I actually really like it with Pert in particular. I like these three, Archaladon, Swampert, and Thundurus a lot together defensively, just kind of how their typings work out. So definitely pretty awesome here. And again, it still gives us that semblance of offense, right? We really only had Mewtwo, Urshifu as like breaker guys. Our Chaladon, Thundurus, Thundurus especially specs a little bit more offensively. Our Chaladon is going to be used a little bit more defensively on this team, in my opinion. So getting another strong guy like that is going to be really valuable for, when we can only draft 8 Pokemon, we have to be, kind of conservative with our picks and what we're grabbing. Now, going forward, again, something else I think that's important when you're drafting in UBERS is kind of like accounting for that top end of the Uber board, accounting for those strong Pokemon that are typically banned in every other scenario. Having Pokemon that can soft check a lot of them, and looking at the top of the board, I love Snorlax to a lot of these special attackers. I think he was absolutely incredible to a lot of these offensive ghosts, a lot of these offensive dragons, whether it be Assault Vest, whether it be like leftovers, whether it be rest sets. I think he's going to be really good at his job. 3 incredible abilities in Immunity, Thick Fat. Gluttony's a little bit worse this generation, but Immunity and Thick Fat, really solid. Can curse up and be annoying that way. And it's just a good general Spadef wall. And for the physically offensive Pokemon like Zacian, Calyrex, things of the sort, we have Terra Weezing. We our points worked out, we could also Terra Weezing, which is pretty nice. I don't really plan on doing so ever, because we kind of have our Chaladon to be that, oh no, I need to check Zacian, check, Calyrex, whatever it might be, Terra-wise. But Weezing in general, still really solid. Gave me a ground immunity that could reliably switch into crowns, not Thundurus. We don't actually have a conventional ground resist on this team. That's Weezing's job. Otherwise, they kind of smoke us right now, and our last pick doesn't help defensively, that's for damn sure. But also gives me T-Spikes. Give me a ground of poison if I need, and if I'm worried about T-Spikes, but it's Gen 9. I'm not super worried about T-Specs, to be completely honest with you, but it lets me set up my own, which is pretty darn cool. And yeah, just a good physically defensive pivot into a lot of these physically offensive Pokemon. Snorlax plus Weezing is kind of a solid, tried and true defensive core. Weezing covering Snorlax's one weakness in fighting. Those close combats are going to be bouncing, so yeah, definitely a solid Pokemon. And lastly, I want some Spikes. I think Spikes plus Mewtwo is nice, so I ended up grabbing Frostlass. It just kind of worked out with the last of my points. It also gives me a Spin Blocker in the sense of when I get up those Spikes, or those rocks, my Rockers, or those T-Spikes potentially, gives me that Spin Block, gives me another Fastmon on top of Thundurus, and again, kind of helps out. It doesn't really help all the speed tiers, I guess, because we already have Thundy there. But we go, what do you call it? Urshifu into Thundurus / Frostlass into Mewtwo. So speed tiers all work out. I think this team was awesome. I absolutely loved it when I drafted it, and obviously I wouldn't be uploading it if I didn't enjoy using the team too. So, I mean, without further ado, let's jump into the first one. Alrighty, our first game of pools, we are going against Axelraid. Now, I won't lie to you, I don't have the teams for this anymore. For some reason, my computer did the thing where it wipes all my teams, and I don't have a lot of them from this time period. Or you guess you can't see at the bottom. I played this on September 2nd, so just about 2 months ago now is when this game was played. So, fortunately, I don't have the exact, what we're rocking with in these games, but we do kind of have a general idea in remembrance. Going into this one, you can see the Uber we are playing up against is Zacian. We also have Terra Tornadus to worry about. Kyurem, Quackleval can always Mickey and sweep through a team, especially mine. Doesn't really appreciate it. So lots of big, scary things in this matchup. Right off rip, though, you'll see there is no Mew to answer. Unless it is Terra Dark Torn, there's literally no Psychic Resist nor Immunity. So in this game, we actually have a lead spec set. I'm here just to click Side Strike on most things, be able to stay in, live a hit, and Side Strike, especially if I don't see Terra Dark Torn lead. Right. Next, we also have an Choice Scarf Urshifu. It's going to be nice for things like Choice Scarf Kyurem. It is faster than Pokemon like Shell Smash Torterra, faster than the +1 Quackleval. Good way of avenging Terra Dark Tornadus as well, which is really nice. General physically defensive Weezing, I believe we're just like Wisp to attack, Pain Split, something similar. Not too wild of a set. EV Snorlax is going to be our main Kyurem answer. With Thick Fat, we absolutely eat that thing alive. So much so to the fact that I don't actually think it is going to be like a Specs variant or a special variant. I was really predicting like some kind of Dragon Dance variant or even at least some kind of mixed variant to break through Snorlax and the rest of the team. But I guess Archaludon also covers that. Don't exactly remember the Archaludon typing, but we'll get to it. Oh, I do. It was Terra Poison. I believe Rocky Helmet. It's there to just check the Zacian, get up rocks, be a nuisance in that way. And then we just have a Thunderbolt, U-Turn, Thunder Wave, Focus Blast Torn with boots. Really strong offensively. Thunder Wave is nice for slowing things down if they get out of hands, like the Quackleval, like the Zacian, like the Kyurem, things like that. So, yeah, with that being said, we can just kind of jump right into it. You can see right here, when we do see team preview, we do see that it is Terra Dark Tornadus. So we have to keep that in mind. If I lead my Mewtwo, I kind of have to get hard out immediately because they're going to Terra immediately. But if they don't, in my mind, I'm putting myself in a pretty darn good position because nothing else really wants to lead well into this besides this Slowking right here. Now, in hindsight, I don't think staying in and clicking Side Strike was a very good idea because I don't kill. Even if it's not physically defensive, I just don't kill. And I guess I'm just tunneling on the fact that this can't really do much damage to me, so I can just 2-hit KO it very freely, no matter what. But I didn't really think of the possibility of this thing being Thunder Wave. So I do 70% ton of damage, but I just get 2-waved, and after Black Sludge especially, that's just going to get potentially regened off. I do guarantee get a KO as long as I don't get paired, and they decide that Slowking is kind of the Pokemon to go, which is fair. It did its job. It was probably here to pair the Mewtwo if it could. And then soft check Pokemon like Choice Select Urshifu, switch from Pokemon like Weezing, things like that. Soft check Archaludon. So it did its job really well. It pairs my Mewtwo. So I am going to get out here as the Terra Dark Tornadus comes in. And unfortunately, because this is Terra Dark, I am forced out. Otherwise, I could honestly just stay in on whatever was left in the back and get another KO. I do get out into my Thundurus. Regardless here, as we see a bulk up right here. A little bit scary, but I do have a big Focus Blast waiting in the back for this, so I am just going to go ahead and click said Focus Blast as another bulk up pops. We were pretty bulky on this Thundurus too, so we didn't die at a +1 knockoff. As we Focus Blast here, we see it's a pretty darn bulky Torn too, as it lives on 2 and gets a Salac Berry boosting its speed. Very scary. Thankfully, we do have a helmet in the back, and I want to make sure that I don't sack off my Thundurus for no reason and then go into it afterwards. So we are going to go hard into the Weezing on Crunch and not Knockoff, which is interesting as it goes down to Helmet. Here is probably my biggest misplay of the game, in my opinion. Again, I told you guys before the game, I was like, okay, I really don't think Specs comes here. I know I don't have a Fairy, but I figured some kind of DD variant would come. Again, in hindsight, I don't really know why. AV Lax doesn't have Recovery, doesn't resist Specs Draco, and puts me in a little bit worse of a spot, whereas Physical is checked by Weezing and is checked by Archaludon to, like, hell and back. So really Special just kind of makes the most sense. It's the easiest thing to wear down. But in my mind, for some reasons, like, they're Dragon Dancing here. I want to be aggressive. I don't want to let in my Lax and let them set up for free. I'm going to go hard Urshifu, punish this, click Close Combat. I go Urshifu, and I get absolutely blown away by a Draco Meteor. This doesn't immediately lose me the game, as I am going to get out into my Mewtwo right here. I think I end up switching anyway. Or no, I Draco. They Draco and miss. I thought of a strong side strike, and then from here I realized, oh, well, I guess I don't have to take the Draco now. I can pivot out of something else that can outspeed or deal with it afterwards. We go hard into our lax. 20% still a decent chunk, to be honest with you. It means it would have done like 40. And we are going to body slam on the clock wall coming in. But, sorry, let me talk really quick. Me making that play is, again, a bit ridiculous, and it's really going to hurt me for the rest of the game into Pokemon like Quaquaval, into having something that's faster than Zacian, because now I don't have anything faster than Zacian, because my Mewtwo is parried, into Pokemon like Shell Smash Torterra. It really was just a terrible... And into this Kyurem later on. Again, I don't have anything faster than Kyurem other than Thundurus. Isn't good. So I'm going to body slam on the Quack. It doesn't get parried. I'm going to go into my Thundurus right here, as we do see a Swords Dance pop. Thankfully, the Thunderbolt is still going to be able to take it out through a Conberry. I wasn't too worried otherwise. I still had Helmet in the back, so even if I didn't kill, put it in a low spot. But then I get into this Torterra, and I'm like, shit. I hope this isn't Shell Smash. I'm going to U-turn out. The Torterra is going to Shell Smash. Thankfully, we can just flamethrower it from here, right, guys? No, it is, I think they confirmed with me afterwards, Loaded Dice Shell Smash Tort. I didn't think Shell Smash Tort would ever come. I think Weezing checks it really well. I think Archaludon with Terra checks it really well. And then Scarf Urshifu just outspeeds it. This is where that play comes to bite me in the ass, though, and it's completely on me. Me sacking off my Urshifu for no reason put me in a position where this was a game where I kind of just, like, 100% felt comfortable in winning. And now I just lose to Torterra. Really, really not a good showing by me. Getting absolutely swept by a Pokemon that I don't even think is very good, to be completely honest with you. It's pretty frustrating considering that it was really just kind of me being over-aggressive for no reason and sacking my guy. And we're in a position now where over these next 2 games, we have to win both of them, or we just don't move on to brackets. That would suck. I want to use Mewtwo, so we're going to have to lock in for these next 2. This was a tough one. Definitely not a good play by me. Going hard into my Urshifu for no reason when I have the AV Lax as my guaranteed initial switch in. If it's DD, I have options like the Weezing, like the Archaludon, like the Thundurus to potentially be able to, at least, you know, pair in that regard. Deal with it then. It's not like my Lax is fodder for it, and I'm AV, I had coverage for it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I had coverage for it. So, bit of a questionable play by your hero. I felt like I was pretty in control of the game otherwise. Even with like the early game Mewtwo getting parried, we still put on a good amount of pressure, killed the Terramon, killed the Quaquaval, and I really wasn't worried about Zacian or Kyurem, being that Kyurem was at 21. We still had our Lax at pretty healthy, and the Zacian is just like kind of damn near hardballed by my Arch. And if Archer got in, it kind of also just won, so. Tough one, but sometimes you get your ass beat because you were over-aggressive, and this is a perfect example of that. There's no reason for me to soul read my opponent's set in that game, especially when I think my analysis of them bringing physical instead was just wrong. So, you live and you learn. On to game 2. Already round 2, and you see my opponent has 2 Ubers, 2 lower tier ones, in Giratina O and Shaman Sky. I think Giratina O is actually incredible. Really, really solid Uber for its price point, and I think it pairs really well with a ton of different Ubers. I think Shaman Sky is very bad, though, so we kind of lucked out, and, you know, that guy being one of the mons we match up into. Giratina O is a little bit scarier, but we'll kind of get into what we're rocking with there. We also have Tyranitar, another Gloking, Terra Hitmontop, and a Scovillain. There was another Terramon, it was another low tier mon. I totally forget what it was, and Scovillain is Scovillain. It might have been Terra Scovillain, I'm not 100% sure, but in this game in particular, I believe we had a Colberberry Mewtwo. We were Side Strike, Low Kick, Will-O-Wisp, and Recover, I want to say. It might have been Ice Beam over Will-O-Wisp in this game in particular. Actually, it might have been 3 attacks to Recover. I completely forget, but in general, incredibly strong. We need absolutely nothing to blow Tyranitar up with a low kick. And again, remember, Unnerve means Topple T-Tar is an issue. So that's absolutely incredible for us. We have a Rest Talk, No Stab, Snorlax. We're actually Earthquake, Ice Punch in this game, as it really checks a ton of these Pokemon really well. Checks Pokemon like Loking, Giratina, and even a Shaman to an extent. It also checks Scovillain because Scovillain sucks. We are immunity in this game though, as this was one of my main pivots into Gloking. I did not want to get Sludge Bomb poisoned or Toxic poisoned as it chips me down a little bit faster. And to be honest with you, I really just kind of did not respect Scovillain as a Pokemon, so I didn't think I needed Thick Fat for anything. And you'll see it actually ends up coming up clutch. Then we have a very like super Spadef Thundurus. I believe we're a pretty simple moveset, a Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, U-turn, Thunder Wave, but we are like max Spadef, Covert Cloak, in order to ensure that that Shaman does not get out of hand. You see my opponent's only rock card right now is going to be that T-Tar. Obviously, T-Tar getting up rocks is tough, but I also think our team matches up incredibly well into T-Tar, and it's going to be hard for that thing to position itself in. And we have a really fast defensive Weezing here with Rocky Helmet, Sludge Bomb, Will-O-Wisp, Destiny Bond, and Pain Split. Destiny Bond's a cool tech for Pokemon like Gloking. If you know, they find the opportunity. We've done enough defensive utility against these physical attackers. They're in with Gloking. They click Psychic. We D-Bond, take it out with us. It's incredible value, as Gloking is annoying, as you saw last game. Obviously, at pairing my Mewtwo, not Pog. We could do the same thing to Tyranitar, which is pretty cool, depending on how fast it is, but we check Pokemon like Hippon-Top really well. We're also neutralizing gas in this game, as I didn't really feel the need to have any kind of Levitate, as there wasn't any stab EQs that were going to be thrown around super often, to be honest with you. You also see that we do not have our, what do you call it? Our Chaladon in this game, so this is our only Pokemon that can tear. I believe we were Tear Gas. We'll see when we click start game. We have a Rocky Helmet, rocks 3 attacks, Swampert, pretty simple. We're here just to flip turn around, so Stealth Rock. And then we have a Choice Band Urshifu, as it outspeeds everything not named Shaman Sky and kills all of the Pokemon. Super dead. So, let's go ahead and jump into it. We can see Terra typings. We see that it is going to be a Terra Ghost, Hitmontop, and yes, we are Terra Grass on our Weezing. I'm not 100% sure on why we end up going Terra Grass. There might have been something on the bench that I'm worried about, because this doesn't really cover any of it. I guess it just looks like EQ weakness on its head, so that's nice. There had to be something on the bench that I was worried about. Regardless, let's jump into it. We see another lead Gloking. This time, we don't lead our Mewtwo. We lead Swampert. This gives me pretty few rocks as Toxic Spikes go up. Again, in theory, don't have a ground of poison, except I am neutralizing Gas Weezing, so I'm actually really glad I went for that. I'm also really glad that I'm Immunity Snorlax, as if I want to pivot in my Snorlax here, I don't actually get poisoned because of immunity, which is nice. It reveals it immediately, but oh no, you know that I'm not thick fat for your Scovillain. So I am just going to click Earthquake immediately here. Not great initial pivots. They do end up staying in just clicking Chilly Reception. That's fine. They can go into Pokemon like Giratina, Shaman. Both my checks are at completely full, and I'd rather not flip turn aggressively and give them momentum, basically, is why I clicked a pretty obvious EQ there. Scovillain comes out, shows that it's boots. I'm going to go into Snorlax, because I don't quite know what the plan is with this guy, but I know that I can take it on. It's sunny days, and I won't lie to you, I got a little nervous. Like, shit, dude, I'm not thick fat. This might do a lot of damage to me. It is boots, so that's good, but I'm really worried. We're going to see it clicks Overheat in the sun, gets a crit, and does 58. When I say I spent the rest of the night after this game making fun of Scovillain for being one of the worst Pokemon ever, I understand it's lax. I understand a max Spadef. I get it. Snorlax, bulky Spadef guy. That's not thick fat. That is an Overheat stab Overheat crit in the sun. 58. This is one of the worst Pokemon ever. Thank God we got one of the greatest Pokegrabs of all time from the King L5. Otherwise, this guy's existence would just be pointless. He's terrible. Terrible Pokemon. So we eat this up. I am just going to go ahead and click EQ. Do about 45, which is what does the most damage to this Pokemon. And from here, I'm just going to rest up, get nice and healthy. We get double crit. Damn. If we don't, we're all good to go. You see the Giratina comes in, and I'm like, oh shit, this is what I'm checking you with. It ends up clicking Substitute, so that's fine. I am going to be able to burn my first turn of sleep right here. Try and burn my second turn. We do end up getting a rest. That's fine. We get the next turn. Dragon Tail does come out, which is a bit annoying, as our Swampert does get poisoned by this T-Spike, but not the end of the world. I like to actually go into my Weezing to immediately soak up this T-Spike so that we don't have everything else get blown up afterwards. And now I'm going to get back out into Snorlax. Will-O-Wisp pops. Not going to be able to work. And again, this is kind of why we're rest talk, so that Wish Sets couldn't just absolutely smoke us. Ice Punch is going to break sub. We get Dragon Tailed out into our Thundurus. Again, a bit annoying. I believe I click Thunder Wave here just to punish this thing going for a sub. They end up going hard T-Tar. A little bit obnoxious, but again, not the absolute end of the world. I hard switch out, as I don't want to risk this thing being Choice Scarf into me, as that would be very bad to lose my Thunders. You see I take 46 from knockoff. That's Choice Band. It does a ridiculous amount of damage. Or at very least, it's offensive. Regardless, I live the next one. I am just going to flip turn out. We can make non-boot Shaman, take rocks, plus flip turn. I go into my Thundurus. I could go Mewtwo here and theoretically claim a KO. However, if this is a Choice Scarf set, there's no reason for me to come in, take an Air Slash, get flinch, and take a ton of damage for literally no reason. So I'm just going to go into my Thundurus. I'm going to U-turn here. I take any hit from it, and U-turn is going to do a ridiculous amount of damage as well. We also cover the T-Tar. Now we kind of have our opponent in a little bit of a blender. We're just going to go for a U-turn on our Urshifu as well. As Hitmontop is going to pivot out. Keep in mind this is also Terra Ghost Hitmontop, so if anything ever Terras, it is going to get smoked by Urshifu. So more good things. It's the only thing that resists Dark on this team. So Earthquake pops as this Hitmontop does get burned. Them giving the burn on this is incredible. I believe I Pain Split up this turn just because. Try and get a little bit more healthy if they are going to stay in. But again, they're burned, so that Pokemon's basically dead. I can just kind of click Wicked Blow the rest of the game. I'm going to go into my Swampert here as T-Spikes do go up. Take a little bit more poison. We are in Torrent range, so the Slip Turn does a decent chunk to whatever wants to come in immediately. We Flip Turn out on Hitmontop, which is incredible because it's going to allow us to position in that Wheezing, not let anything else get poisoned. In particular, Urshifu and our Mewtwo are the only things we're super worried about. But yeah, I double back out into my Swampert, as I really did expect them to double into their Cloaking. It's fine. They just clicked Earthquake. It's whatever. I get out into my Thunders. I am just going to Thunderbolt as they Terra Ghost for some reason. And again, I'm a very, very bulky Thunder, so it's not like this does any damage to me. I take very, very little from that triple Axel. The next turn, I am just going to go ahead, U-turn, take this thing out, and be able to reposition. Go into my Mewtwo right here. Next up, Shaman comes out. This kind of confirms that this is Choice Scarf to me. So again, I'm a little bit worried about getting flinched out. There's no reason for me to sack this guy yet, as it kind of just wins the game at this point. It's very, very good. So getting flinched down is not a good idea, in my opinion. It also puts me in range of Shadow Sneak, or it's not Shadow Sneak, so it's fine. Regardless, I do go Wheezing to just sack it off. Unfortunately, we're not able to, as the Tyranitar comes out. In this turn, I like to just Destiny Bond. This Pokemon has done its job. I don't need it anymore. It checked the Hitmontop. Rocks are up forever, and I can kind of just sack this guy off and go on to the next world. As Scovillain ends up coming out on a Destiny Bomb, I'm like, well, damn. I mean, that's fine though, right? Because I can either Sludge Bomb this thing as it sits up a Sunny Day and kill it, or it kills me and lets me take it down with it. And again, Giratina can come out on Sludge Bomb versus Poison. Same thing with T-Tar, and on Pokemon like Slowking and T-Tar, I can actually just Destiny Bond again afterwards and be fine. But they actually elect to just go for a Flamethrower, which is awesome. Do we take out the Scovillain? Big threat. Scovillain got a kill though, my goat. And from this point, it's kind of just checkmate. I go into my Urshifu. I am going to click U-turn. The moment this Tyranitar dies, as they click Earthquake here, it looked like I'm a demon. Really, I was just sacking this thing off in order to get another switch back out into Urshifu. But the moment this thing dies, I win with Wicked Blow. Don't actually even have to click a move with my Uber in this battle. To do U-turn, knock out the T-Tar, back out into Urshifu, and it's just a Wicked Blow and a Wicked Blow away. So yeah, this one went much better. Obviously, picking up a 4-0 dub opposed to a 3-0 loss, I think we got in the last one. We will definitely take it. We know this thing's Black Slash, so good night, Choice Band Urshifu. And yeah, that's going to be game. We're able to take home a nice 4-0 victory. Now we just need to win our last pools game, and we will move on to top 32 in the tournament. All right, our last game of brackets. We see the Uber. This time is going to be Kyurem White. The Terra Captain of choice is going to be Ogerpon, so we know that it's going to be Terra Grass. And then we have big threats like Goldango, Palafin, Noivern, and then Pig Carbing. The Bingsters, as the kids say. Really the only fighting resist on this team. We have fighting immunity in Goldango. I guess we also have Noivern, and really the only dark resist is going to be that Carbing. Otherwise, Choice Scarf, Wicked Blow looks incredible in this game. Very, very difficult for my opponent to switch into. Mewtwo in this game, I believe we were... I don't remember the item in particular, but I know we were Shy Strike, Shadow Ball, Willow Spin, Recover. Then on the Archaludon, we are a Terra Water variant with Stealth Rock, 3 attacks, I believe Thunderbolt, I want to say Draco, and some fourth, or Flash Cannon. We have a pretty offensive Thundurus in this game. We were just 4 attacks, I believe we were Volt, Thunderbolt, Sludge Bomb, and Focus Blast in this matchup. I totally forget. It could also have been... Yeah, it was Focus Blast to hit the Kyurem. And then we have an AV Snorlax. I know that the Kyurem has Turbo Blaze. It goes through our Thick Fat, but we still check it nonetheless, which is nice. And that being said, let's jump into it. In this game, we were always going to be lead with our Archaludon. I want to secure that Terra, and I want to get up rocks. We do see that the Palafin ends up leading itself. The reason we want to Terra Water immediately, yes, we already resist Jet Punch, Wave Crash, all the things, but I need to be neutral to fighting, at the very least. And Water is going to allow me to do that while retaining my resistance and not becoming weak to Ice Punch. So, Fade was just the best typing in that regards. We see Carbing come out hard, which was interesting, as I don't fear Carbing. I'm just going to Flash Cannon here as a Spike End going on my side. That's fine. I click a mid-ground Thunderbolt just to cover a Psycho Palafin coming out, as Noivern is going to come out next. It's going to show to be Boots. It is going to frisk my leftovers. I'm going to go ahead and get out a Mewtwo, as I know this thing can't really threaten me. I'm a pretty darn bulky Recover variant. as they actually end up defogging. And can I tell you, in Pokemon 101 is there's no reason to set up your own hazards if you plan on defogging them away, especially in singles at the very least. Let me see, you're not setting up hazards in doubles though. But if we're going to take the turn to set them up, sack our carbon to set them up, we should not be taking the turn to get rid of them immediately. I think that was a bit of a blunder by my opponent, but I'll take the free switching because I can always get up rocks later. I'm not very pressed about my ability to do so. Next time they're going to U-turn and be faster than me. I was a bit aggressive with my creeps in this game. I forget what down exactly to, but they end up either catching me or they were just max speed. Who knows? We obviously know they weren't Scarf. Kyurem comes out though, and I click Side Strike. That does a lot of damage. There's no Side Strike resist outside of that Goldango, and Goldango I'm not super worried about between Pokemon like Lax, Pokemon like Urshifu that blow through it as well. So that's obviously nice. I pivoted into Lax here on the Kyurem. I wanted to cover Scarf. Scarf does a lot of damage. Draco could kill me. We switch out first, showing that they are not Choice Scarf, so that's good information to know for later instances, as the Goldango is going to go for Thunder Wave on my Earthquake. Should be very bulky. Thankfully, it's not weakness policy, and it clicks Flash Cannon here, which I kind of understand in the sense of like, you want a bunch of PP if you're trying to 1v1 Lax with like T-Wave cheese, but it does no damage. That was crit and it did 18, so I mean, my opponent's just going to start spamming Recover. They only have 8 of these and they're 1 crit away from just like losing this Pokemon. We also know that they're leftovers on this variant, so I guess I lied because we got a crit there and it wasn't enough. They're also one, what do you call it? They're going to run out of these recovers soon. They're at 5. Really, I'm just kind of trying to condition them to where I can get a free switch to my Urshifu. I really don't want it paired as it's incredible. But finally, they recover once again. I knew if they were clicking a button there, it definitely wasn't Thunder Wave. I'm just going to click Wicked Blow on this Noivern. I know it's Boots, so we're not worried about opposing Scarfs. Just going to click Wicked Blow again. Out comes Palafin, as I am going to go hard onto my Archaludon. I take a close combat on neutrally really well, which is good. I mean, 50 is not really well. That's choice banned, but I at least know that now, right? And I get a little leftovers back, so I'm maintaining that water resistance, which is the main thing. I get up my Stealth Rock here, as I want to punch this Kyurem from coming in, make a really aggressive play and go hard out into Kyurem, which is a good play by them. Draco does absolutely nothing, though, to my Snorlax, as they're going to hard pivot out into their Ogerpon, as I double into Urshifu. I believe expecting the Goldango to want to come out either on fighting or normal move, especially because I was pretty chipped. But unfortunately, the Ogerpon comes out. Thankfully, we have a good check. Wheezing comes out, neutralizing gas. Terra Grass pops, SD up. That's a little scary. However, there's not really anything this thing can do to immediately threaten me. Knockoff pops right here, as I believe I throw off a Sludge Bomb. I don't get the poison, but we do a ton of damage in return. In this turn, I elect to click Flamethrower. The reason I click Flamethrower is because it gave me a mid-ground on Goldango. The issue is I didn't need to do that. I tunnel visioned, I thought, okay, IV Cudgel. I live, I kill with Flamethrower. What I did not think was Horn Leech. And Horn Leech, unfortunately, with a critical hit, is going to bring this guy just out of range. So quite literally worst case scenario there was Horn Leech crit as a Flamethrower. They're just barely going to live, and that's not good. I was very nervous. However, thankfully, my Thundurus is pretty darn bulky in this game. Again, bulky Thundurus, who would have thought? Pretty darn good, right? I'm going to get out into said Thundurus, live the Horn Leech, and again, thankfully, we're also very offensive in this game, and we have Sludge Bomb, which is more than enough to take it out from that range. Goldango comes out. I don't need this Pokemon at all anymore. I'm in range of Jet Punch. I die to Kyurem. I also need to hit a Focus Blast to hit Kyurem. Also, I have a million things to kill Kyurem right now. So I am just going to go ahead and Thunderbolt as they end up Thunderwaving, trying to catch my aggressive switch into something like the Urshifu. I have no reason. I'm kind of just spamming the button, hopefully getting off a little bit of damage before they take me out, as they do elect to not be super optimal with it and Shadow Ball here, but I guess they only had 3 more. So, I mean, they could have gotten to a healthy point, but not to a point in which my Urshifu wasn't going to come in and kill them dead. So, I do just go ahead, click Wicked Blow, knock this thing out. And then Palafin comes out, and again, a part of me thought, like, hey, maybe we go into our Archaludon, sack it off, something of the sorts. But the only issue was, I was worried about, what do you call it, losing to the Palafin later. With Jet Punch, if I lost my water resistance, and I don't need Urshifu to beat Goldango. At the range it's at, after Rocks, it's guaranteed in range of Flamethrower from a Mewtwo, so I thought it would just be better to Wicked Blow, not kill this thing, die to a close combat, and then kind of position my Mewtwo in an endgame in which it always wins. So I go on to Mewtwo, I can just click Side Strike on this Pokemon right here, Good night. That kills a lot of Palafins from that range, especially a -1. I get some lefties back. I was leftovers. That was the item. And I just flamethrower, knock this guy out, and that's gonna be wraps. I also still have my lax. I could soft check it. Pokemon like Archaladon. If I just stall out of recovery. But regardless, we're fine. I always killed from there. And we're able to just barely sneak into top 32 and kind of keep our run going. And get to keep using Mewtwo, which is big. Because, again, spoilers, don't get in the main league. And I really wanted to use this guy in a league. So I'm glad I at least got in the tournament. And it's shaping out to be obviously pretty incredible. Let's jump into our first game of brackets. Alrighty, guys, top 32 here, and you can see my opponent's team. The only Uber they actually had was Chien-Pao. They have some other big threats on the team, Pokemon like Terra, Ogerpon, Wellspring. Annihilate was actually really annoying for my team to deal with. Terrapico, same thing. Landorus, T, and Clefable. So lots of big heavy hitters on the team. On our team, we have a Colbert Berry, 2 attacks. I want to say Taunt, Mewtwo, I believe we're Side Strike, Aura Sphere, Taunt, and Recover in this game. Pretty darn simple. We are a Terra Dragon, pretty darn physically defensive Archaladon. We're a Dragon Tail Stealth Rock. I want to say Heavy Slam and Body Press on this variant. We're a Choice Scarf Urshifu. Does really well offensively in this matchup. We are a Rocky Helmet, T-Spiking, Pain Splitting, Wheezing, very physically defensive. We're also rocking out with, I want to say, AV Lax. I totally forget, to be honest with you. And then we have a Frostlass. And the Frostlass is going to be our lead. We're Taunt Spikes. Basically, my opponent doesn't have great ways of removing outside of the Terrapicos. If they're not Spin Terrapicos, they really struggle. And we can always obviously Spin Block that thing. Outside of that, if we see Pokemon like Unaware Clefable, we're going to have a really good time offensively with our team as spikes and T-spikes and things like that go up into my opponent's side, which is great. In particular, also great for things like Annihilate, Ogerpon, and Chien-Pao. So, that being said, let's jump right into it. Like I said, we are Terra Dragon, our guy. We're going to lead with our Frostlass. We're going to immediately just get up Spike. They don't want to risk getting blown up. If anything, they might U-turn. Out comes the Clefable. I am going to Taunt immediately as they try and Thunder Wave me. Not going to happen. Just go ahead and Spike again. Unfortunately, we are put into a KO range, but we do get lucky here, get a nice little Cursed Body. It's going to allow us to get up yet another Spike, which is really nice. Get up all 3. As the Ogerpon comes out right here. Now, something I didn't account for in my own side was opposing spikes. I always see Ogerpon in my mind as the herder, offensive, Terra Water, Click Ivy, Cudgel guy. Totally forget that it's a great spiker as well. And in this game in particular, forces a lot of switches, gets up spikes. As spikes go up here on my switch into Archaladon, another one goes up. I like to just get up my rocks, as if I'm gonna get up, if they're gonna get up 3 layers of spikes, I want to have 3 layers of spikes and rocks. The Landorus is going to come out next right here. I believe I do pivot out into Wheezing, as I don't want to take an Earthquake or an Earth Power for no reason. I Stealth Rock go up. Taunt happens, so I can't get up my T-Spike just yet, as a U-turn pops, chips us down a little bit more, which is nice, and Terrapicos comes out. Now, obviously, we have rocks and 3 spikes up on our side as well, so also we don't get the poison as we break the Terra Shell. Rigged. I am going to go into Frostlass immediately right here, sack it off. Down it goes. No Rapid Spin. Shows Rapid Spin. That's scary. Urshifu comes out right here. I'm just a little bit of a punk. I should always U-turn right here. There's no way they just sack this thing, give it up. They have Clefable and Landorus. There's literally no reason to sack this Pokemon off and, you know, sack their ability to spin later, because they definitely can. I think if I wanted my game plan to work the way I needed it to, I needed to be aggressive around this Terrapicos, being that I sacked my Frostlass really early. Landorus is going to come out. Not only is this annoying, it's tough because my only real switch into this right now is going to be Wheezing. And Wheezing lets that Rapid Spin from Terrapicos pop, and that's a bad thing. I need these rocks and these spikes to really whittle down this team in the way I want it to. So I'm going to catch a U-turn on this Landorus. It's very low, which is nice, but Terrapicos is just going to get that spin off. I'm going to find this as an opportunity to get into my Archaladon right here, as getting this defense boost is really nice in the sense that it's going to allow me to, in conjunction with another hit, knock out this Terrapicos with a Body Press. Earth Power pops. Thankfully we live, because we tear it out of our Steel type, and this thing gets blown up with the Body Press. Unfortunately, it did its job before that, though, as we do get a little leftovers back. Landorus is going to come out, and in my head I'm like, okay, that's weird. I live this. I'm just going to go ahead and Dragon Tail this guy too, I guess. But it is Earth Power. It does take me out there, which 40% is a lot considering I wasn't weak to that. Regardless though, I am going to get out into my Mewtwo. I do pick a KO right here pretty comfortably. Ogerpon is going to pivot in. I kill the thing off. It's nice to kill that thing considering I did just sack off my switch into it. As out comes Chienpao. Now you're going to see my opponent Icicle Crashers. Again, I was Colbur. Any non-choice band set, I do live. And I live Crash. I don't have a switch into this Pokemon at this point in the game. I don't. With the spikes up, it just doesn't exist. Thankfully, they go into it now and they aren't patient enough to like kind of go into something else, like their Scarf Annihilate that they'll reveal here in a second. And I don't get flinched, and I'm able to completely OHKO this thing with Aura Sphere. Also showing how bulky Mewtwo is. Not getting to a KO by Chienpao Crush is crazy. Out comes Annihilate. Does reveal to be Scarf, so that's good information at least. Otherwise, I would have just kind of won the game on the spot. All good though. Out comes Weezing. I am just going to go ahead and get up a T-Spike as the Annihilate is going to U-turn out again. Once again, completely fine with me. I just throw off a Sludge Bomb, trying to bait a Poison or something, punish the Clefable for wanting to come in, hit the Landers, get a lucky crit, don't get the Poison though, but U-turn is going to be able to take it out, which is nice. Out comes the Annihilate. It is going to get poisoned immediately. Rage Fist is not boosted in any way, so it only does 15% as I do just Pain Split back up. Get back up nice and healthy. This Annihilate is super, super low. Clefable is going to pivot out, get poisoned as I double into my Snorlax trying to catch them Rage Fisting again. But again, in hindsight, do I need to? No, because I can just spam Sludge Bomb. So if I Sludge Bomb there, we're in an incredible spot. Unfortunately, we do not. I Body Slam into this Clefable, do about 40. Thankfully, it is unaware, by the way, so it is like in a permanent state of recovery all the time. They barely live this next hit on 2%. And see, from this point, it kind of is just slowly whittling these guys down and finding opportunities to break open a hole that I haven't been able to up to this point. So I'm just going to kind of continue to click Body Slam here for a little bit, not getting too much of these interactions. I do get my leftovers back, though, so I was leftovers in this variant, which is really, really nice. Being able to continuously get my leftovers back, get back up to full, despite the 3 spikes and rocks being up, is really nice. You see a Wish right here, and then a Protect afterwards. Oh. It's a little bit tough. And they are in a perpetual state where they have to continue to wish, or they are just going to get to it KO'd at this point. I do Pain Split this next turn as they wish. I get nice and healthy on my Pokemon. They do catch me and go into their Annihilate on a Sludge Bomb, so that is a base 100. I have to keep that in mind. Got to be careful about my immunity and Snorlax to that Rage Fist, as they do just kind of keep spamming this Sludge Bomb, keep this thing nice and low. Get out into my Snorlax. I don't know if it's just that I'm being impatient. I'm not quite sure why I'm making this play. Get a little unlucky. Get paired right here. As I try and Encore it, that's what it is. I was Encore Lax, which is such a sick tech, by the way, Owen. Good job. Go me. I do Encore it into this Wish. I double into Urshifu on the Annihilate coming in on said Wish. Kind of didn't time that super well, but what it is going to allow me to do is I am going to be able to Wicked Blow this turn, bring this thing nice and low at close combat, so it doesn't get any health back. Poison, I get out into my Weezing, and from here I can just kind of spam Sludge Bomb to it KO the Clef, and then this thing dies to Helmet. It couldn't lock one move or the other, and we win the game. Finally, after like 48 turns. So maybe not the cleanest way of getting there, but we got there. Able to pick home a dub and move on to top 32. Alright, top 32 rolls around, and we finally have to play Calyrex Ice. Not only do we have to play Calyrex Ice, we also have to play Terra Tornadus again, we have to play Terapagos again, and then we have other demon Pokemon like Scizor, Ursaluna Blood Moon, and Big Chimecho, the greatest 1-point Pokemon of all time. Thankfully, I actually think we have a pretty incredible matchup here. Our Chaladon is going to be one of the better checks to Calyrex, if those exist. We are a Terra Water Iron Defense set, so we can Iron Defense up if that thing wants SD. We can Body Press through it pretty comfortably. Really keep it low, or just 1v1 it completely. We have our Thunders, which is going to force awkward Terra types on the Torn. You'll see in this game they actually end up going Electric to avoid that Thunder Wave, like we were talking about in the draft analysis. But what that does is that means to where they have no answer to Urshifu. There's no fighting resistance not named Chimecho. There's no dark resist on this team. On top of that, the only Pokemon that is faster than my Urshifu is the Tornadus. Everything else on this roster is slower. So I can click Choice Band Wicked Blow to my heart's content. I have an Assault Vest Snorlax is mainly our pivot into Ursaluna. Gotta be careful about weakness policy sets, but other than that, we handle it pretty well. And then we have a physically defensive Weezing once again. Pretty simple. And then like a utility 2 attacks, momentum, thunder waving, what do you call it? Thunderous, which is cool. Alrighty, that being said, let's jump into it. Like I said, we do see Terra Electric on this turn, which is great for me. I lead Thunderous, I Volt out immediately. No reason to play around this thing. I don't need to take a hit from it. Go into my Rocky Helmet Wheezing, chip it down even more. This basically just ensures you're in like any kind of Flamethrower rage, even if you're like a weird AV set. Takes that hit. We're able to see the Terapagos come in immediately, which is a little bit scary, but not the end of the world. I'm going to pivot out of my Snorlax, Terra Starstorm to 17%, so that's great. I do just click Body Slam here, as there's no reason to click a super effective move that's going to be not very effective the first turn. As Blood Moon's going to pop, do 28, decent amount of damage, as I do just Body Slam. Once again, trying to bait a para, as Moonlight comes out. Again, a little bit worried about weakness policy at this point, but after a certain point I do realize, like, okay, if I keep this thing low enough, I am going to put myself in a position where I can just revenge with Urshifu. Another Moonlight comes out. It's a hammer on this turn. As another Moonlight comes out, again, we see that it is not weakness policy, so as long as I continue to hit these Hammer Arms, I'm going to put this thing in range of Wicked Blow, which is the main thing. So Blood Moon does kill me, but I am able to kind of chip this thing down in range to where we can use our Urshifu to immediately revenge it or kill something else on the team. So down goes the Ursaluna, which is great for me. Tornadus next. I do pivot out into Mewtwo immediately, as I know I can take any 2 hits from this thing pretty comfortably. I was a very bulky Mewtwo. Unfortunately, we do end up having a little bit of an unfortunate speed drop right there, as Chimecho is going to pivot out this next turn on a Side Strike, as I do a ton of damage, 40% to it, which is crazy, showing it's probably a little bit more Spud Def in order to pivot into Mewtwo. I pivot out of my Thunders, as I do expect some kind of Thunder Wave to pop. I don't expect my opponent to want to attack into me. Even if they do, they're a Chimecho, so I felt like it was a pretty safe scout. As I get on my Urshifu on a pretty much guaranteed recover turn, I Wicked Blow, good night Chimecho. Next up is Torn. Again, this game is going phenomenally so far. I am just going to still use my Thunders as a pivot, as I am bulky enough to switch in, take 2 hits, U-turn, or Volt Switch out, and get into something that can deal with this a little bit more appropriately. Hair Blast does a chunk, brings me down low. As I Volt, get a crit, which is unfortunate, but get out into my Mewtwo, and it is just Side Strike time. Out comes Scizor, that's fine. I'm able to do 32. I believe I click Flamethrower, because if they switch, it like covers up pivot into like Calyrex or no, I clicked Side Strike. I was gonna say it could cover pivot into Calyrex, but it's fine. Side Strike comes out comes Calyrex, but thankfully our Archaludon is at full health, so I am able to pivot out into that, as Agility does pop, so it's good to know it's not Trick Room, so we need to be very careful about this thing, because once it Agility's up, it is faster than the entirety of my team. Archaludon is going to Terra Water here. They make a good aggressive prediction, go for a Seed Bomb, but I get a defense boost and I Iron Defense, so now this does nothing. I am just going to Body Press here, does a ton of whatever, blows up Torn, breaks the Terra Shell, and does 30% to this thing, which is also great. Get a little Lefties back, and then I'm going to pivot my Thundurus just to sack it off, basically. They can't really set up on my face if they die, so I figured sacking off Thundurus was pretty safe there in that regard. Out comes my Urshifu, Wicked Blow time, good night, down that thing goes. Then out comes Torn, and I like to sack this thing off. I actually don't have a switch in a Torn at this point at all. One, they can miss Bleak Wind and I kill and then I win. But two, I'm actually pretty confident in my ability to beat this Calyrex if I can get a free switch into my Mewtwo. Because what I need to do is I need to position a recover. From there, I'm actually a really bulky Will-O-Wisp variant, just like before, to where I can Will-O-Wisp that Calyrex, burn it, and then not be 2-hit KO'd by Glacial Lance. If I can do that, I'm golden. I'm in a really good spot. I know you're thinking, Owen, that thing makes it to where it buries, you know, or like, what if it's a Lum Berry or something like that? Well, that's what Mewtwo's for. It's Unnerve. We can really beat any variant of Calyrex, provided we just hit it with a Wisp. So we are going to sack this thing off, get a free switch out into said Mewtwo, and Mewtwo should on its own be able to clean up this game, as it matches up really well into these last two. Really difficult for my opponent to beat them. I do recover, get the recover that I need, and I miss, unfortunately. Glacial Lance pops, does a ridiculous amount of damage. I'm going to pivot out into Weezing in an attempt to not let this thing pick up KO after KO. Right here, Glacial Lance pops. I probably should have pivoted out. I knew this thing was going to be Lum in this game. I Toxic here in like a last-ditch effort. I probably should have gone hard Archaludon, to be completely honest with you, as they do eat the Lum Berry. And from this spot, I am going to pivot into the Arch. We do see a Glacial Lance. It does a ton of damage, unfortunately, to where when I get these leftovers back and I Body Press, I do nothing. Again, probably should have just clicked the button, the Iron Defense button, but it wouldn't have mattered regardless. because I got crit right here. And that means the game is over, unfortunately. There's not much we can do. We can flamethrower crit for a kill. That's it. If we flamethrower crit, we actually still won. We could just recover. If they were taunt randomly on one of those moves, we could sack Wheezing, get back into Mewtwo, side strike, and still be able to, you know, recover if we need to. But the Wisp Miss just absolutely boned us. We guaranteed won that game otherwise, and now we don't, unfortunately, because of a crit, because of a ton of things. And again, we don't get crit too, by the way. If we don't get crit, we also get off another body press, which means body press, flamethrower range, Mewtwo wins. Also, if we hit the Wisp, Mewtwo wins. So there's multiple paths for Mewtwo to win. Just getting unlucky. And that's life, you know. Fortunately, it's not my opponent's fault, but we got cheese in that one, and our run ends there. So we end up getting knocked out in top 16. But what I did want to do, I don't know if you guys enjoy this, but I wanted to watch the finals game on the video just to kind of show what the end teams kind of look like, look at a couple more UBERS, and kind of give shouts to the people who ended up you know, playing in the tournament and doing really well in it, doing better than I did. Let me know if you guys would want to see that more in the future, these tournaments that I play in. If you'd like to see the finals games after the fact, if they have been completed by the time I record it, I'm not opposed to it. I think it's fun. So we're going to go ahead and pull up that game. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I had it on in the background when it was happening live, but I didn't really watch it. So we'll go ahead and check that out. I'll be right back with you. All right, we're just going to jump right into this one. Again, like I said, I had this on in general in the background when it was happening, but I don't like really know what happened, like in-depth version of the game. We have the Carkle Rider, which is Orn Latios, BBL mainstay. He's been around the community for a long time. And then we have Berna, someone who's been in my server and played in my league, and has been, you know, someone who's around the community for a long time in the past and recently came back in Generation 9, which is awesome. They're playing in finals and they're duking it out with some really fun Ubers. I actually love their cores. Rayquaza Fluttermane is incredible from Orn. And then we see Giratina Origin plus Solgaleo, which is a tried and true incredible core on Berna's side. We also see that they both have Sneasler. This is a common thing. This is one of the changes we actually end up making. This is Terra Sneasler on both sides. We end up banning Terra Sneasler in the main league. That guy's very cheesy and bullshit. So we end up changing that. So, I mean, they got to exploit it and use it for the tournament, which is pretty funny that they both end up in finals with Terra Sneasler. Who'd have thought? But they also have great supporting castmates. Pokemon like Lycanroc are really fun. It's also going to be really nice in a Pokemon like Armarouge and the Rayquaza having that strongest Cell Rock. We also have Big Ting Lewski setting up hazards for these big Ubers and the Sneasler. Primarina is always going to be a good Mon. On the other side, we obviously mentioned the Sneasler, but we have Hammerot. We have Armarouge, which is really fun. I think I saw Orn like smoke someone turn 1 with a weakness policy Armorage. And then we have the Iron Treads, which is another really fun mon. So that being said, let's jump into it. Let's go ahead and look at the Terra typings. We have Terra Fairy on the Sneasler on Orange side, and then on Berna side we have Terra Ghost, which makes sense because fighting Ghost is really strong in particular in this matchup. So let's go ahead and take a look. We see a lead Lycanroc into a lead Iron Treads. Close combat, it does end up living, which means it's pretty darn bulky probably because it wasn't Chople, as Earthquake is going to bring it down to Sash. And the close combat is going to pick up Berna in immediate KO on the Iron Treads. That's really nice. Nice Dragon resist, you know? Nice Steel resist. They're not super prevalent now. We go out into our Samurott, make a really aggressive play, by the way, knowing that, like, hey, they can just Aqua Jet me and kill me. We get some good value out of that turn if you're Orn. Clicking the immediate Ceaseless Edge, getting a lot of chip on this Prim, basically like bring it damn near down to half in conjunction with that spike. I mean, bring it down to like 60. We end up getting up another spike, bring it down to 42. We do get blown up by this Moonblast, but I guess we really value these spikes going up immediately. Also, we don't have a switch into Moonblast, I'm realizing. It's Armarouge, so we really don't have switch-ins to Primarina in general. Rayquaza is going to come out, and getting off that second Ceaseless Edge is actually great, because this is going to guarantee put this thing in range of any hit this thing wants to go for. We do see Dragon in Ascent. As Endura pops, bringing this thing down to a very telegraphed Custap, but at the very least is going to put something else at risk from taking a crazy hit. A guy like me is surfing right here, so this Armarouge dies. Unfortunately, we don't see said surf. Special attack drop is a little annoying, as Armor Cannon is going to go ahead and pick off this Primarina. So, Orn getting back in this game somewhat, has lost 2 Pokemon up to this point, but we do have 2 spikes up. The Prim is gone, which we didn't deal with super well. The Lycanroc is dead upon switching. So, I mean, it's basically 2-2 with Berna having more sacks. Hard Rayquaza on this Giratina as a Poltergeist drops just a ridiculous amount. We also see that there's Choice Scarf, so that's good information for Berna right here. Our Dragon Ascent is going to fail. We know that this is Scarf. I believe we're probably going to elect to just get up our rocks this turn, correct? The rocks are going to be incredible. No, we actually just see a Stone Edge pop and knock this thing out. I'm surprised we didn't go into Solgaleo if we were picking a KO there. As Sneasler is going to be the next switch out with our Air Balloon, we are going to be able to set up pretty comfortably in this thing's face. Solgaleo is going to come hard out, but I'm not sure if this thing lives a +2 close combat. As Psychic Fangs pops, it is a Choice Scarf Solgaleo. So really, really great play from Berna's end, knowing that he can immediately make that pivot before he wants this thing to have its item popped or item used and get that unburdened and really, really threaten it. So great play by Berna, great bring as the Armor Rouge is going to come out. We are going to be forced to pivot out, but we have Big Ting Lusky, which is pretty darn healthy. Fluttermane is going to double out. Ornn really trying to get back in this game. Moonblast is going to kill the Tinglu, probably showing specs at this point then. Giratina is going to pivot out next. We Shadow Sneak and just OHKO the Fluttermane. Then lastly is going to be Armor Rouge, which we can just go ahead and click Shadow Sneak through. It shows to not be weak armor, so we're just going to sneak into Earthquake. Down it goes, and Berna is going to win finals there. Very offensive game. I actually love their teams. I think their teams were way cooler than mine, and I really like my team. So I figured it'd be fun to show them off and kind of give them a shout out. Congrats to Berna for a great win in the tournament. Looks like your team was fucking broken. Shouts to Ornn for a great second place team. Looks like your team was fucking broken. I will give you guys a spoiler. There was one Pokemon on screen that we did end up drafting on our BBL team. So you'll see one of them more in the BBL, hopefully, and hopefully it'll do really well for us. If you guys did enjoy today's video, please be sure to drop a like on the video, as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 5,000 subs. I need you to help me hit there. If you guys are interested in becoming BBL front office members, I'm always looking for more mocks for this league. I'm taking it super serious. So you can go ahead and join the Discord server. Ping me. Let me know you want to join the chat. Secret, super hidden chat. So I'll add you to it. And yeah, with that being said, see you guys next time. Later.